All right, y'all, we live, man. I ain't even think about opening up the call. None of that before I jumped on, but that's cool. Um, I'm gonna try to get us right. But in this video, y'all, I'm going over how I watched the video on Kia Duggan. Shout out to Introvert Rockstar. And I was doing research on the Divine Nine and how we have to teach the youngins when they go into college on what to expect on how they recruit you. All right. So I'm just going to go over these videos that I got. And I'm trying to show y'all, I'm trying to paint a picture so y'all can see exactly like what Steve Coakley found and what he definitely exposed. Because I think a lot of people in the boule know what's going on, because we having a lot more people are denouncing. What's up, Mickey Jones? L Blitz, salute. I appreciate y'all tapping in with me. Man, I had to get this off my chest, man. I've been working on this boule thing, and I want y'all to really, this is probably the most important video that I probably dropped. I'm going to bring in what some of Steve Coakley said, and I think if you somebody and you're thinking about joining these groups, y'all gonna have to send them this video, because I'm breaking it all the way down. I'm gonna be on here for about an hour, but I'm breaking it all the way down and to show us. Now, first, I'm gonna play this young lady here. What's up, Patricia? How y'all doing? I appreciate y'all for tapping in. I'm gonna play these videos, and I got 4 different videos. Don't make me feel like I inspired this live. Hey, listen, you did. You had me researching, Mickey. But y'all check it. I'm going to expose some people that got into these organizations, what they had to do, so it's a clear path that y'all can see. When you join this, you are joining the opposition. You are gatekeeping for the opposition, right? So I'm going to let this lady, I got about 3 videos I'm going to show y'all, but first, you know what? I'm finna put this lady here on so y'all can actually see my perspective and where I'm coming from. So without further ado, let's get it.
I mean, if anything, I thought it was great, because I mean, that's the way they paint these sororities to be. And I saw this guy post about, Delta being something wrong about being in Delta. And I'm like, what is that about? And so I was hanging out with a friend one day. He was like, well, you might want to look into your sorority because it's demonic. And I was like, a sorority demonic? The devil has to get crafty. He has to con you out of your worship. He has to think of different ways. But when you think about how he tempted Jesus, and he said, I'll give you all of these things if you just bow down and worship me. Because nobody is going to physically bow down and worship the devil if they are a Christian. So if you claim Jesus Christ as Lord, you're not going to just willingly do that, right? He has to kneel and bow to get into these organizations. You just think it's weird. You don't think it's like, okay, I need to sit back and be like, what we doing? You're just doing it because you want to be a part of the organization. I went through the pledge process, initiations, rituals, and I didn't think nothing of it at the time. When you do these oaths and things where you have to kneel and you have to do all this weird stuff, like, you're not thinking about what the context of what it is. You're not thinking about that. The Greeks did not worship the God of the Bible. The Greeks literally worship idol gods. They had pagan rituals, y'all. But that spirit that's hiding behind these organizations.
So I wanted to stop it there, right? So this lady is saying that they got the pagan rituals. It seemed like the same thing that they got for politicians. And I'm exposing that all of the politicians, if you look at any of the politicians, even right now, 99% of them, 99.9% of them, if they're black, they're in one of these groups, right? Now listen to what this lady says. This lady explains exactly what they do when they get in. Check this out.
Religion, and everything in between. Today, I want to talk to you about fraternities and sororities. And I'm going to start here because I think it will help you get the best understanding. Now, before you come in the comments and try to tell me about what your sorority is and what it ain't. I'm not speaking as a person who's strictly a researcher right now. I actually was in a sorority. I actually went to college and saw these ladies, saw what I thought they were about, and I decided to join. Now, there's a whole process, and those who have done it know exactly what I'm talking about, and those who have tried to do it know what I'm talking about. And even if you just heard it through the grapevine, first it begins with a whisper. This is where people are beginning to talk about there being a line. And then there's an intake process. Typically, for most people, you went to a meeting. I know that I went to an intake meeting where they introduced themselves and let us know about the organization that we were deciding to join. And from then, we were presented with a list of qualifications. And it pretty much from that point went, you were on a scavenger hunt to get all these boxes checked off. They wanted references. They wanted to make sure that you had the proper grade, so you had to get transcripts. They wanted to make sure that you had the community service, so you had to get letters and people sign off on the fact that you were doing these things and you were about who you said you were about. And then the submission and the waiting period. I remember when the letters did start finally trickling in, you saw people coming from the mailboxes happy, joyous, and then you saw some people coming away from those mailboxes in tears.
Now let me stop it here to interject. So she's saying that some people was selected and some people wasn't. This is kind of like the NFL draft, the NBA. Y'all, this is the same thing, right? They make you think it's about submission. And I'm finna show you because this is exactly what Steve Coakley said. Check out what Steve Coakley said in this of how they get you and how do they pick you, to feel that you got what it takes. 1537. Check this out.
Fraternities and sororities. What is your advice?
It's interesting. The movie Stomp the Yard. I thought that was an interesting attempt to try to reconstruct the options because they are catching hell in the streets. There is a rise of Kemetic-centered, African-centered societies that are repudiations of Greeks. And this is on the rise on many of the campuses around the country. And many of those fraternities and sororities, like the American military, were finding reduced numbers, questions of hazing and brutality. And see, that's an important thing about a secret society is the initiation or the ritual, which is an act of submission. I would never want anyone to underestimate when someone goes on that line and they beat them or they make them do things or unusual things or ridicule them, that act is an act of submission. And that's very essential to keeping a secret society in order. How do you command that subordination? And so for today, when they're on the campuses, they see the boule. If you look to the boule journal, you can look up Sigma Pi Phi.net. You can hit up my website, stevecoakley.com, and then you can link into their website. You look at their boule journal, you see what they play up. They're the head of everything. They're announcing every key position they have. They're the advisor to every person, every corporation. They're the black head of American Express. We can just walk on down the line of those that roles were theirs and only theirs. No one got past. I noticed that Harold Washington, our black mayors were uniquely boule. Andy Young when he was Atlanta, Dinkins when he was New York, Bradley when he was Los Angeles. But none of those men were able to groom their man. So Bradley was mayor 20 years, but didn't have Bradley too. Jenkins couldn't turn it over to anybody. Then white folk walked and beat on his door to run him out. Different cities, Detroit.
Now, as y'all see about the submission that he said, right? Now we go back to what she said. We know that when you join in these groups, they got to make sure that you are obedient. And these people that did these rituals, I know they feel us. If you done like what these people are saying, because it's a lot of them nowadays. But I'm gonna bring y'all back to what this woman said. And Steve Coakley, he said this years ago. Okay, this isn't something that he just brought up. This is something he's been saying since the 90s. Check this out.
Because it was that serious of a thing to be chosen to be in a sorority. You were looked at in high regard. I remember, and just to be transparent, you know, just the being in the parties, you know, any other day, we hands on the knees. Oh man, but when that line came out, when we knew we were being watched as candidates, we were like wallflowers. We barely even moved. So then when we finally were chosen, that's when they took us through this process of learning knowledge. We had to learn all about their organization, all about the founders, all about their traditions. We had to know their rules and their bylaws. They took us through this whole ordeal. And then the rituals came. We were made to dress as one, and we were made to light candles and in a dark room, and there was a book open on this altar looking thing, and we were walking in a circle and we were chanting and we were singing songs. And this is what we would do. We would sing songs to the organization. And we would sing our hearts out about how we were going to give our heart and our soul to this organization. And we pledged that we were going to give lifelong service to this organization. That's what I did.
So you're going to pledge that you're going to give a lifelong service to this organization. Okay. And they say that the Divine Nine is just for Black people. So this is a direct connection to the conditions that they don't want to say this because we've never seen nobody in the boule really have that spirit of our ancestors. Have y'all noticed that? We haven't seen anybody. Now, this all I made this video because I seen what Kia Duggins, somebody who just got assassinated. I know y'all like, why did she get assassinated in the plane? Check this out.
So that's a great question. So when I was applying to law school, I imagined that law school was kind of a Hogwarts for justice, you know, where everybody comes and we learn how to fight for justice together. And that's, especially at Harvard, you know, that's kind of the image that I had in my head. And that is not what I found when I got there. I found that at Harvard Law School, at least, it's mostly an institution that seeks to preserve and hoard power, to put it in one sentence, and not to fight for justice. And so that's the kind of foundation where my answers are going to come from.
And look, I know it's a lot of people that say, oh man, you should just let this go. It's over. But it's something about that DC plane crash that's not sitting right with me. You telling me that American airline plane had 1 minute. It had 1 minute to land, and out of nowhere, not any helicopter, not just any helicopter, an Army helicopter came out of nowhere and crashed into it. You telling me that's a coincidence? You telling me I should just move on with life and watch the damn Super Bowl? And then I said, wait, something not right, something not adding up. And then I found this recent video. Check this shit out.
University has laid off a team of researchers tasked with identifying descendants of those enslaved by the university's leadership.
NBC 10 Boston's Malcolm Johnson has more on the sudden terminations of those researching the university's past. It's a story all new at 5.
We found over 900 people enslaved by Harvard leadership, faculty, and staff.
It was Wayne Tucker's job to find people enslaved on Harvard's campus by Harvard leaders, faculty.
Now, hold on. I know he was getting into that, but I want to bring y'all back. The news article said people that were enslaved to Harvard, right? Now, can you see if you join these rituals or you join these sororities, can you see that this can be a form of control, a form of having control over you from just a sorority group? Y'all let me know in the chat section, man. Because Harvard, see, Kia Duggins was not a Divine Nine. She was not any of that. So basically what I'm saying is, check this out. This is what Steve Coakley said, and that this confirms that Kia Duggins died of that plane crash. It was meant for her. Check this out. This is what Steve Coakley said. Now, she's not even the first one that this happened to. Check out what Steve Coakley said here. 1322. Check this out.
This is what you're saying is that the boule represents the buffer class, the petit bourgeois, the comprador buffer class that manages Africa's workers, peasants, students, and middle class in many ways, and are paid well for that. And they receive their direct orders from the European capitalist class.
Yes, if you would look to today, where boule members like Vernon Jordan, who is managing director of Goldman Sachs, he took Bill Clinton to his first Bilderberger meeting in 1971. The black man took the white man from Arkansas to the big international meeting. Vernon Jordan, former head of the Urban League, who groomed Ron Brown, who then went on to become Secretary of Commerce, killed in a plane crash, murdered, because.
Let me bring that back to y'all so y'all can hear that again. So you know, and I'm going to bring it back to Kia Duggins. Let's hear
and they
this
received
again.
their direct orders from the European capitalist class.
Yes, if you would look to today, where boule members like Vernon Jordan, who is managing director of Goldman Sachs, he took Bill Clinton to his first Bilderberger meeting in 1971. The black man took the white man from Arkansas to the big international meeting. Vernon Jordan, former head of the Urban League, who groomed Ron Brown, who then went on to become Secretary of Commerce, killed in a plane crash, murdered, because boule are considered domestic. Martin King was boule. Look at the relationship between Martin and Kwame over going against the war. You don't hear anybody in the African-centered community primarily against the war. They're basically accepting it or looking for what they try to get when whites are passing out things like, you know, a grant here, this or that. They don't appear to be focused on that money that's being wasted, those billions of dollars.
Is it the Afrocentric community
Africans
support the war?
They are not. No. I'm just saying they are not pushing against the war. Say way Martin King,
I understand what you're saying.
when April 4th of
You're
67,
right. You're right.
1 year before he was killed to the day, when he came out of Riverside Church with Kwame in a shirt and tie in the front row, waiting to hear, because he called, so you got to hear this. He comes out against the war. Boule men are told to be domestic, not international. Mickey Leland was Sigma Pi Phi. He tried to stop a starvation going on in Ethiopia, Somalia. His plane crashes into the mountain. Congressman from Texas, he dies. Ron Brown,
his plane crashes into the mountains. So what I'm telling y'all, what I'm trying to show y'all here is, if you not in line, right, with what they have going on, and they selecting people from the boule. So if you're not, you got to understand what the boule is actually before you speaking and going against people. Because I think that once they know you out of line, they get you out of here. Check this out, and I'm gonna go
Martin
back.
King, yeah, no question. Martin King became international, and that became his biggest sin. He was financed by some of the greatest foundations America ever had to offer. But if they get beyond the defined limit, then there's trouble.
In terms of young people today who are on college campuses who want to join fraternities and sororities, what is your advice?
It's interesting. The movie Stomp the Yard. I thought that was an interesting attempt to try to reconstruct the options, because they are catching hell in the streets. There is a rise of Kemetic-centered, African-centered societies that are repudiations of Greeks. And this is on the rise on many of the campuses around the country. And many of those fraternities and sororities, like the American military, were finding reduced numbers. Questions of hazing and brutality. And see, that's an important thing about a secret society, is the initiation or the ritual, which is an act of submission. I would never want anyone to underestimate when someone goes on that line and they beat them, or they make them do things or unusual things or ridicule them, that act is an act of submission. And that's very essential to keeping a secret society in order. How do you command that subordination? And so for today, when they're on the campuses, they see the boule. If you look to the boule journal, you can look up Sigma Pi Phi.net. You can hit up my website, stevecoakley.com, and then you can link into their website. You look at their boule journal, you see what they play up there, the head of everything. They're announcing every key position they have. They're the advisor. They're every person, every corporation. They're the black head of American Express. You know, we can just walk on down the line of those that roles were theirs and only theirs. No one got past. You know, I noticed that Harold Washington, our black mayors were uniquely boule. Andy Young when he was Atlanta, Dinkins when he was New York, Bradley when he was Los Angeles. But none of those men were able to groom their man. So Bradley was mayor 20 years, but didn't have Bradley too. You know, Dinkins couldn't turn it over to anybody. Them white folk walked and beat on his door to run him out. Different cities, Detroit, Coleman Young was not a boule member. Harold Washington was not a boule member. And the relationship between the white financial firms and Harold Washington was uniquely different than it was with men who were more trusted.
Brother Steve.
Yeah, it just made me think about something we had talked about. You know, as a young brother in Chicago, really wanting to get involved in the movement. When I came back from college, there were various options. Was in Chicago, and the black politics at 75 was still dominated by Mayor Daley, Ralph Metcalf, who was the first person to break away, whose assistant was Harold Washington, who eventually became the mayor. That first congressional district, which Bobby Rush, former Black Panther, is the congressman in now. That district, we had Hakeem Mahabuti there. Bobby Wright was on the west side.
Now, the question that he asked was, what do you have recorded humiliation? Let me see what she said. Recorded humiliation rituals became very popular in the 2000s. Right. It seems like the same thing that, you know, Diddy was on, right? They say Diddy was a Mason or something too. But listen, Brother Steve Coakley goes on to say, what is your advice to somebody that's joining, trying to join the sorority, the Divine Nine? He then says that, okay, if you're trying to gatekeep and you're trying to be in a position of guarding white supremacy wealth, what are you going to do when we jump the fence? Are you going to attack us, or are you going to just watch? Are you giving information to us? Like, we'll respect them if they was like giving us information. Hey, y'all, they look at other black people, I think, as lesser than, because they're like the chosen ones. They're the ones where the organizations, white supremacy, choose from to be leaders of their states, different territories. These are the people that they choose from. So it's a lot of selection of people that they could choose from. But my whole point in this is, if they can't control you, even if you do pledge and you get into these sororities, there are people that they take out too, because they go outside of what they supposed to be in. But this is all really about Kia Duggins, because there were people that died on planes. And our whole point is, Nobody is talking. Introvert rock star. Nobody is talking about it. He's the only one. Nobody is talking about how this woman, you know, what she stood for, that she got assassinated on this plane. She's a modern day Malcolm X. She's a modern day just an activist. Check this out.
Faculty and staff, and to trace their descendants. That is, until yesterday.
Yesterday, we were just relieved of all of our duties around 11:30 a.m.
Tucker and his colleagues at the Harvard Slavery Remembrance Program, a university initiative tasked with identifying direct descendants of those enslaved by Harvard leadership, were abruptly laid off.
It's disgusting, to treat your colleagues like that.
Tucker says the program worked with passion because of how many descendants they'd found.
That rush, when you find that nugget, you're like, oh my God. That's a rush that we would get once a week.
That 900 number is a big number.
Sean Wynn is the president of Harvard Black Law Students.
I think for a lot of people, we saw the 9-figure commitment to a legacy of slavery initiative as a positive sign and a step in the right direction. And I think I, speak for a lot of people on this campus to say that this most recent news feels like it is a step in the wrong direction.
So I'm glad you said that, Mickey, because you said that that's a form. Where did you put it? You put lifelong pledge is enslavement when you don't want to be involved in it anymore. So what I'm trying to show y'all is Kia Duggins was finding out something and was exposing a lot, and it was exposing a lot of stuff, right? And if you can see on this, I'm gonna go here on what they was exposing and how are they even holding these secrets.
Did you do that? Did you say that you were going to not tell people about the things that went on in the organization? Did you go through any type of ritual? So people, y'all know what I'm talking about. So let's dive into this. Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, also known as the Boule, was founded May 15, 1904 in Philadelphia. It is the oldest existing Greek letter postgraduate fraternity, originally founded by and for prominent Black professional men. Its founders were Henry McKee Minton, a pharmacist, Algernon B. Jackson, doctor, Edwin Clarence Joseph Turpin Howard, doctor, Richard John Warwick, dentist, Eugene Theodore Henson, doctor, and Robert Jones Abele, doctor. The fraternity began as a secret society and modeled itself after the Council of Chiefs, or Council of Areopagus,
Right.
the name given to the government institution that met on the hill of Areopagus, which presided over the city of Athens, Greece. In ancient Greece, these were noblemen advising the king. After candidates served as one of the 9 archons, a term meaning chief magistrate or another word for ruler, they became Areopagus for life. These were the aristocrats of society, a Greek word that means rule of the best. By definition, power is placed in the hands of a small, privileged ruling class. In Gnostic religious traditions, archons were 7 supernatural beings associated with the 7 classical planets and considered to be the creators of the physical world. In a book titled Hypostasis of the Archons, their physical appearance is that of a hermaphrodite with the face of beast.
So as y'all see, they make you learn this knowledge, what they say, but it's really something that is going to keep you obedient, keep you on the same frequency they on, but make sure you don't cross back over. I think the biggest thing in this is crossing over. They're trying to keep you from exposing a lot of this stuff. So that's just what I'm getting from it. But check this out on when Barack Obama and Michelle, when he talks about introvert, talks about
Absolutely not good colleagueship, and it does not reflect well on senior leadership at the initiative and the university as a whole.
The research will be continued by American Ancestors, a genealogical nonprofit based right here in New England. Reporting in Needham, I'm Malcolm Johnson, NBC 10 Boston.
And see, that video was from 2 weeks ago. And that plane crash happened January the 29th. That same weekend, Kia Duggins was headed to Harvard to participate in a Systemic Justice Project conference. A Systemic Justice Project conference is a gathering organized by the Systemic Justice Project, typically based at the Harvard Law School, where academics, lawyers, activists, and students convene to discuss and analyze how systemic injustices operate within the law system, focusing on ways to address these issues through law and policy changes, often with a focus on the role of lawyers in broader societal problems and systemic change. And you saw the video. Harvard just laid off employees whose job was to find descendants of slaves they once owned at their university. And you think Kia Duggins ain't know that? You think she ain't know that was about to happen? You think she ain't know this was happening? Do you think they wanted Kia Duggins moving on to Howard University and teaching her students, her people, everything she learned at Harvard University, everything she found out, all the dark shit she found out? And look, when it comes to Harvard University, Harvard Law, all the same thing. When it comes to them, their job is to study people. They use their students to study people, study a group of people like Black people, and they study you to keep you down so they know what type of music to put out. They know what type of food to put out. They know what type of social media content to put out to keep us fighting against each other. That's their.
So did you know that some of the biggest market gains don't happen during the day, but actually overnight?
Their job. That's what they do. Because how you have 900 slaves that you own?
So just to tap in, he was talking about the 900 slaves, and they know what you can to feed you. They know what the music is. But check this out. Steve Coakley did an interview. He did a famous interview, and he said that there were doctors going to Africa. Y'all know how we get certain kind of shots when we in the United States, say like it's mandatory that you got to get. It's crazy because I didn't have none of my kids get no shots. I didn't believe in it. I'm like, nah, I don't shoot them with nothing. They were saying that in Africa, this is what Steve Coakley was saying with his research. They were sticking kids with AIDS. Now, this is allegedly that they were just putting AIDS into the kids right from, just needling it in it. And then this is how things spread. Now, a lot of y'all thinking that could be far-fetched. Like, why would they do that? What do you know what I'm saying? But if you look at the history of how we've been living in this country, it's very deep, and it's a lot of experiments that was happening on us that they do. So this isn't as far-fetched as y'all think. So I'm gonna let him get into how Kia Duggins, nobody said anything. Check this out.
But see, they only telling us 900 because if they told us the true number, if they told us the real number, it would be too disrespectful. And look, I can tell you what type of student Kia Duggins was. She wanted the campus and she learned on her own. She was smarter than her professors because she knew the truth. Your professor in college, they can only tell you what they tell them to tell you, what the curriculum say to tell you. That's all they can tell you. A lot of times, especially as Black people, we know more than professors because we go tell the truth because they go try to hide the slavery. They go try to hide about your ancestors. They go try to hide that. But Kia Duggins always called them out. And not only that, I can picture her right now. I can picture her finding all the dirt, finding all the cheat codes at Harvard University. And she was going to get those same cheat codes to the people at Howard University. If you don't believe me, check this out.
And Ivy Leagues hoard a lot of power and privilege. And so I was like, let me go in here and see what I can take. Let me go in here and see what I can take and sprinkle about the world. So that's why I chose Harvard. And Harvard's a good place to come and get, take things, take resources, get all you can, sprinkle it about the world, kind of like Robin Hood style. And so, yeah, that's why I chose it.
Hold on, let me stop it there. That's a definition of real, in my opinion. Okay? If you're not doing something like this, I was a dealer for this big water treatment company. And I was around these, and I was just amazed that there's no black people doing this. But I knew now, that energy, when you in situations like this, that you have to do for your people. You have to get that information and you got to bring it back to the hood. It's your obligation. We have to start speaking to everybody in our community like this. It's an obligation for you. If you get to the top and you able to see over the mountaintop and you able to get in the position that not a lot of us can get, it's your job to get the information, pass it back to the community so we can build on it. We can't be gatekeeping and holding everything that the company got you doing and you die with it. It's like, this is what makes this woman so real. And anybody who acts like this and moves like this for your people, you are real. You need to be congratulated. We need more of this because we can't go nowhere if you guys are sitting at the top and sitting in these positions and you not funneling nothing to the hood. That was my first thought when I was in this water treatment business. And I'm like, dang, wow, they got a whole network of people doing this. We need this in the hood. The first people I'm telling this is guys from my neighborhood. Like, look what I seen. Look what they doing. Look how they got this network. We need to do something. We need to get it like this. We have to be on this type of mindset. If you're not on this mindset, to me, you're lame. What are you doing even working for them in? It's a waste. You're not going to be able to get nothing and pass nothing down to your people working for these big organizations. We have to build our own corporations, our own organizations. So if you are sitting there or if you know people that's sitting there, please have them watch this lady and tell them this is how we have to move. I don't care what position you at. We got to move like this. Let me let him go because I'll be...
And see, look, when it comes to these people, nothing is a coincidence. I don't care what it is, the LA fires, Hurricane Katrina, the levees breaking, guns on trains being dropped off in crates in the hood, and a damn Army Black Hawk helicopter running into an American airline plane. That's not a coincidence. What's the irony? 1 week you lay off people. It was their job to find descendants of slaves that you once owned, that Harvard University once owned. And then the next week, you have a former student who's still involved in the school, an activist, an attorney. She's about to be a professor at Howard University. And that next week, her plane is hit by an Army helicopter. That's not a coincidence. I need y'all to slow down when it comes to life and really think things through, because these people getting away with murder. Because you heard the video I played in the beginning. She said Harvard is not about justice. And we seeing what they're doing right now. They getting rid of the people who's trying to find the descendants. They getting rid of everything that has to do with Black. And then I slowed it down some. I said, wait, I remember she interned with Michelle Obama. I said, wait, I know Michelle Obama said something. She shouted her out. She said, rest in peace or something. So I went to Michelle Obama's Instagram account and I saw nothing. She posts nothing. I said, okay, let me see if Obama said something. Obama said nothing. I said, okay, I know they wrote some articles or anything. No articles. Okay.
So what I want y'all to understand is you can be sitting around somebody who in a boule group and they could be giving the information because they pledged their life for these people. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, they pledged their life to these organizations. You can't let them know nothing about what we got. We're going to have to move in silence because it's a lot of Black people that, if y'all don't know what happened to Suge Knight, Irv Gotti, Jay Prince, they was trying to form a record label where they could distribute it. And even in that, somebody told and the feds came on each individual one of these guys. So it's letting us know if we try to do anything independent, get away from the system, they have agents out here that their job is to report it back to the higher ups. So while we sitting there thinking they down and everybody black, we giving them information like, y'all, we can go do this. And little do you know, that person benefits off of the system being how it is. They understand that they're making a big bag by keeping this thing just how it is. And we don't know that they're out to stop any progress that we got going on. And that's important. That's why a lot of us, our leaders, are getting gone.
Mike, let me try YouTube. No YouTube videos, neither one of them. No TikTok videos, neither one of them. And then it dawned on me, Michelle and Obama went to Harvard University. The things that Kia Duggins believed in, it was too real and raw. They can't be connected to her. And when I say the things she believed in, black people, she believed in her people. She loved her people, like for real, in real life. She wasn't just talking. She wasn't just getting on a podium and just talking about hope and shit. And matter of fact, let's read a quick passage from her 32-page journal. Check this out. In light of unsuccessful police reforms, contemporary Black American abolitionists like Dr. Angela Davis and Marion Kaba have refocused movements for police accountability on the largest systemic forces contributing to police violence like colonialism, economic exploitation, and white supremacist ideologies. Dismantling the root causes of police violence requires a societal transformation that reforms like body cameras and training cannot fix. Residents in high crime communities have been asking for better schools, parks, libraries, and jobs, but these services are rarely provided because the residents lack political power to obtain support that would make their community safer and healthier. Instead of asking the police to be the lead agency in dealing with homelessness, mental illness, school discipline, youth unemployment, immigration, youth violence, SCX work, and drugs, contemporary Black abolitionists demand that funding be divested from the police and invested into education, healthcare, and housing programs that can tackle inequality directly, as we see from the example of Taiwan's successful efforts to protect marginalized communities by strengthening social and political infrastructures. Listening to Black activists' calls for social and political investment will help the U.S. become a more equitable society.
So let me let them go.
And she was basically telling y'all, in our community, the police ain't there to help the people. It ain't there to fix the problems. They there to exploit the people. Because like I always tell y'all, without crime, without poverty, without miseducation, jobs like a police officer, a judge, a DA, a lawyer, jobs like these people won't get paid. And that's why every Black leader, they unalive. Every Black group, they unalive or they send them to prison. Every strong Black community, they either bomb it, they flood it, or they set it on fire. Tell me I'm lying. But through all of this, we will not play the victim. We know what comes with this activism shit. They catch you when you least expect it. So right now, all we have to do is pick up the pieces, keep evolving, and keep moving forward. And look, y'all remember when I told y'all that Harvard didn't say anything. They didn't make no posts. They didn't make no Facebook posts, no Instagram posts, no YouTube videos about Kia Duggins. Obama and Michelle, no videos about her. But guess who made a video about her? The school she taught at in 2017 in Taiwan. I'm going to put the link to that article and the videos in the description. They said how much they miss her, how sad they are, how happy the kids used to be to see her. And in her 32-page journal, she talked about this. She talked about how Taiwan respected her. She felt like a real human being, and she wanted Black Americans to feel that way in America, and that's what she was fighting for. And look, I'm not done talking about Kia Duggins. We on this all year.
So check this out. Yep, you're right. Ellie Hopkins. It's not just Black people though, because they unalive anybody that it's an economic and a financial thing. You you doing things that's gonna hurt their financial status, they gonna want to get you out of there. And anything, they're sucking a lot of wealth out of the black community, bro. So they don't wanna. If you's trying to stop that, they gonna have to get rid of you. It's just so much money in it. But when we talk about reparations and stuff, they always get to us and talk about, well, black on black crime. Like, what's up with the black on black crime, right? So what I want to show y'all is what Steve Coakley said about black on black crime, right? And he had an interview with one of the guys. It's a classic interview that we're gonna check this out. And then I want to hear what y'all think about it. But everybody always tell us this. They always say, man, black on black crime. Like, what is this? Check this out. This classic Steve Coakley.
In America. White supremacy is the problem. Jews just happen to be white. I think Irving shows a good example of the immaturity possessed by many Jews who overreact and, shall we say, disrespect blacks' legitimate concerns regarding Jews. It appears as if people like Irving have a certain level of immaturity that they just can't imagine that a person that talks as illegitimate as he talks is not in some form
Mr. Coakley,
or shall we say so peewee that he isn't even worth responding to.
But Mr. Coakley, you can't blame him for reacting when you get up before an audience and read a statement, I don't care where it comes from, to the effect that Jewish doctors are inoculating black kids with AIDS.
Well, I think what you ought to do is look to the New York Times, which talked about the doctors in Zaire who got an agreement with Mobutu to shoot up black people. This ethnic weapons program is being used all over the world. Unfortunately,
Mr. Coakley, you mentioned the ethnic weapons program. How much of the problem in the black community of Chicago are the blacks' own fault?
Well, white supremacy is the main problem in our community.
How much of the problems are your own fault?
Excuse me, if we resolve white supremacy, we will resolve the problems of unemployment. We will resolve the problems of bad housing. The Reagan administration probably represented the epitome of white supremacy by cutting into every domestic livable program that whites and blacks had, especially poor people, and they showed their relationship with these people by proving their insensitivity. Now,
well, Mr. Coakley, you've attacked Jesse Jackson, you attacked the late Mayor Harold Washington, you called them colorless. What black leaders, political leaders in this country do you respect?
Well, I think politics has a way of accommodation. I don't think we have true political leaders in the sense of that you're going to find purity in politics. Politics is about accommodation and compromise. When our black leaders go into politics, as was discussed recently in Harper's Magazine, blacks have to prove to whites that they will protect their interests first. That's why politics is not the type of game that we're going to continue to invest all our time in, because it's proven that it doesn't work. Politics will not whip white supremacy, but clear, accurate, documented challenges to white supremacy, as well as action, grassroots action, taking against the forces of white supremacy. I thought it was awfully strange.
Coakley.
Okay.
Mr. Coakley, we have to take a break for a commercial.
See how they try to cut him off, bro?
We'll be back in just a minute.
They know he cooking. They like, we gotta stop this.
I heard what Mr. Coakley said, and you don't agree with him, and I don't agree with him. I don't think Pat agrees with him. But aren't you taking this to the limits when you call him names on this program and when you make the remarks you make about violence?
You know, I got to tell you something. I really had tremendous reservations about coming on this program with him because, as Pat said, you're building him up. Nobody would know what he is, animal, vegetable, or mineral, but we're building him up. So the fact is, you got to call him exactly what he is. I would like to ask him, if I may, why is it that every night in Los Angeles, there's a mini Holocaust going on here, and it's got nothing to do with white racism. We have black kids killing black kids over cocaine, over other kinds of dope and paraphernalia. Why isn't he here? Why isn't this Farrakhan fellow here trying to stop the black on black carnage that's going on in this nation? Black raving gangs traveling throughout this nation, killing other black people.
All right, Mr. Coakley, answer him.
Well, since you gave him the privilege to ask a question, and I then will expect the same privilege subsequent to that, I think I think it's very clear that black on black crime and other syndromes in the black community are what black people do when they don't understand who the enemy is. Part of the problem with the tapes that were heard by those who played them was that in those tapes were names of very prominent people. It talked about the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberger Group. It talked about those things. It talked about, no, we're not that immature. I don't believe in the word conspiracy. As a researcher, it's my job to present the best evidence. I think that the best evidence is what should go forward, and that you all ought to grow up enough to be able to dialogue with blacks who have legitimate concerns, who just so happen may have been trained by you, who understand your pathologies well, and who would expect you to step up for the dialogue rather than to continue to stoop down. I think Irvin is a stooper. Now, Irvin, I'd like to ask you, what positive contribution have you made in the last 20 years of your life to have added something to this problem of black-Jewish relationships, rather than to be the manipulator that you are? So obviously, you're not on this show for any positive contribution.
Well, I'll tell you.
Just what is your game?
I'll tell you exactly what I did. And perhaps I'm foolish for it now because I realize where you're coming from. I went down south to Forsyth County, Georgia, and I marched with about 25,000 beautiful people, both black and white. And thank God you weren't there, because my stomach would have turned and I would have had to throw up all over you. If
You don't know that I wasn't there.
Well, I didn't see you, and thank God I didn't. Because if I hadn't done anything in the last 20 years except stand up to animals like you, then there's a place in heaven for me.
Well, see, what's the problem with the black-Jewish relationships across the country now?
You're the problem.
We have
part of the problem.
That there has been no violence on the part of blacks towards whites, probably even though there's reason for some violence. And I think by exacerbating the racial tensions,
what do you got against
I hope that you all know, Pat and Mr. Braden, that on the national level in Congress, there's an attempt to pass anti-group defamation laws. In fact, Newsweek on June 6th did an article about it, where out of Hofstra University has come the desire to outlaw racial slurs. And those people that were alluded to in the article said that they were going to spend this summer setting the climate to make it possible to outlaw racial slurs and make a gentleman like myself a criminal, though I've never been arrested in my life.
Well,
so it appears as if we're being used to set the climate in America.
Mr. Coakley, what gestures have you made toward racial understanding and equality?
Well, first, it should be said that during the time that I was in the mayor's office, not one single person accused me of abusing the power that I had within my control. In fact, it strikes me as strange, the Jewish Federation in Chicago used to pass confidential documents to me to take to the mayor prior to anyone even seeing them. That surely doesn't sound like a person who was mistrusted. And I could tell you that in Chicago, we're coming forward with blacks who really represent the black community and disregarding those blacks chosen by Jews for these dialogue ventilation sections. We're coming forward with some real leadership. We're coming out to propose a research project where we can go back to the beginning of time and trace the relationships between blacks and Jews to assess just where this problem started. It didn't start in the civil rights movement. It didn't start in the early 1900s when they started the NAACP and the Urban League. It started back in the beginning of time. And unless we have this study, we won't resolve the conflict.
You know, I'd like to say it started with people like Jesse Jackson and people like Coleman Young and people like this fellow, Mr. Coakley.
That's
people who are jealous of Jews. The reason there is black Jewish strike today is because these blacks are jealous of Jews, and that's the only reason.
Well, quite frankly,
you can't make it, and we can.
Well, quite frankly, Irvin, even in Israel, Sephardic Jews who are of color are also discriminated against by European and Soviet Jews. I think this problem is bigger than we ever assessed. And Jews, especially white Jews.
R.I.P. man, Steve Coakley, man, one of the greats who fought for us. But let me get this right. So that's what I got for y'all, man, with Steve Coakley. Definitely, I hear you, Mickey. We need to start having our conversations right, because I can tell that Steve Coakley was the smartest person in the room. And because he's speaking the truth. See, when you can speak the truth, it's hard to say something to try to negate it. It's like they just speaking emotionally. And it was crazy because I'm like, dang, you normally see us have to talk like that. And it's the other way around. But it was just seems like there was nothing they could say with Steve Coakley. Now they trying to freeze up my arm. But what y'all think about this, man? I did in showing y'all like how Steve Coakley said our leaders die on plane crashes when they go outside of what they supposed to do. That means being international. They want everybody who join these groups to stay domestic. So you got to stay on their team in America. Because if you see too much on the outside, you're going to know and you're going to want to come back to getting treatment. But I think it's a form of enslavement, like Mickey Jones said, when you get into these organizations. Because I'm seeing people, they rep these organizations harder than they rep being black. It's like it's the organization first. Let me know if y'all see that. But yeah, man, I just wanted to give my perspective on all of this and try to get my vision out. I want to know what y'all thought about it. But I'm definitely with you, man. The enemies can hear and they always but like you said, I think that not only can they hear, but they are sitting around us listening. Like they are, their job is to make sure it ain't just to just sit back and just say. Their job is to make sure they understand what's going on. J. Edgar Hoover said that we will make the Messiah, we will make their leaders. So they're trying to put people in front of us that they control instead of someone from the grassroots like Malcolm X and our guys that'll be solid. So you put another reason they want to hush black people in the race history is people will that we've been having the same conversation for years, and the only people that haven't changed are them. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We've been talking about this all along, but this stuff has been around since 1904. I'm talking about these fraternities and sororities. If they started these fraternities and sororities in 1904 because they seen black people were starting to get in excellence, they starting to get money. They got after when Abraham Lincoln made the Freedmen's Bank, I think after that they started seeing black people prosper and they get money. We gotta be allies with them. 1904 they started the boule. And then 1920, all of our towns start burning. And then that's when all of these guys, once everything was tore down, that's when the boule started. Like we started seeing these people being successful, higher ups, and it's like they doing nothing for us. It's nothing like the Black Panther Party. It's nothing like the Harlem Renaissance days. It's nothing like that. Like they just get into being judges, lawyers, they get into white supremacy jobs and they just get money. But we don't hear about them doing anything prevalent for the people. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's like, I don't understand how they don't feel ashamed of just, doing that and repping that stuff. But I did say if they was giving game back to us, like, yo, I'm a spy in there. I got you, y'all. This is what's going on. Them secrets is staying secrets. We got some people that's telling us that's falling out, but those people that's in, they're not saying anything. He put J. Edgar Hoover, Shriner. Dang. Google Farrakhan Mason. Dang, it's like that. All rappers are agents to send you to jail. Exactly. I was just saying that, man. The prison system and the rapping, I think it goes hand in hand. I just did a show with Cap the other day, and I'm like, yo, when they sign them record deals, I think they're agents, even if they don't know it or not. Just like if you selling cocaine, they manufacture that. So it's like, if you just by you doing that purpose, you're selling their business. That's their business. That's not our business anymore. Like, I ain't gonna say anymore. I think they were the originators of creating it. They controlled the people who created. So it's like that is coming in. It's literally their business. To clarify, people will see. To clarify, people will see. Oh, you were saying in your last one. I can't say which one. I can't say which one I was about to join made it as number 2 on the line, and something told me to run and never look back. I could not stomach the division amongst us and non-members. It's definitely division, because I think they look at people who are not into these groups as like, but a lot of them ain't nothing to these people. They're just, it's another slave house, bro. It's just another way to get people corrupted, I think. And it's ways that you can go, you know, and it stops you from being a activist. Like, it's a lot of wrong that's been done, and there's a lot of money that needs to be paid for the wrongdoing that's been done, and they don't want you on that. It's like, we don't want you on that, and just bringing awareness to that. I think that's the main goal. No black bank, no trade school, but the jail full. Right. And they making money off the jail, bro. It ain't just, that's a $1 billion industry. And it's a form of enslavement, because they getting people now to do things when they're in jail. They're working, they're building things, they're making things. So it's like, what I'm telling y'all in this video, I'm showing you the forms of slavery. And this is one of them. The boule is one of them, because you got people that their whole life is to worship an organization. The same as a fan that football, and they just diehards, and they like, they're worshiping this. And that's a form of enslavement that people don't think. People just think slave is when you going out there picking cotton. No, enslavement is when you got something that's, you know, you could be a slave to a drug. You could be slave to something. You could be a slave to an organization. You could be a slave to something. So they understand in this, and they get in our people, and we are slave to organizations. And we got to wake up out of that. But it's sad, man. Shout out to Steve Coakley, who really did the research and was going around and made this big. Now it's known. I don't understand why people don't feel ashamed of being in that, you know? And like he said, it's other people too. It's not just the Divine Nine and the sororities. There's other things too, and other races of people that they on the same thing. It's just in a different form. But man, y'all smash that like button for me. Push me on the algorithm. I greatly appreciate that. I want to know what y'all think about this. Any details y'all want to add to this? Shout out to Jared White, man. You put in that Ja Rule, Irv Gotti, Supreme. Yeah, when those guys was trying to make a record label, Irv Gotti, Suge Knight, the South, it was like everybody was trying to unite. Anytime we all trying to unite, that's where the boule come into play. Is somebody gonna hear it and they report you, and they probably get a check, and they probably get not even a check, but they get opportunities. They blow up, like we seen with Jay-Z. After all of that happened with Suge Knight and all of the feds came, it was like they push him to the forefront. So when you do good things to protect their money, they bless you. And the modern day house Negro, exactly. It's slavery, but they're just house slaves. They still slaves too, because they got to keep them in line. But it's just crazy. And you won't know you're enslaved until it's too late, right? Like, it's people right now, they're in probably sororities and fraternities, and they don't feel like that's a form of enslavement. When them people telling you to pledge your life to this, they telling you to, you know, hold this first, but they won't think that they're being, you know, that they're a slave to the system. Jay-Z told the Jew plan. Told the Jew the plan, yeah. And that's what they do. They sit around us, bro, and they be a part of them. That's why it's tough, man. It's tough out here. But, man, I appreciate y'all for tapping in, man. Hope I ain't missed nothing. But I just wanted to give a vision on how I looked at when people are in college and when they're doing certain things to expose, like Harvard, and Harvard is starting to they're letting AKAs into their university. Like they stopped letting certain organizations because they were saying the hazing, and now they letting a black one in. It's just, all I'm saying, y'all, is just, it's crazy out here, man. They believe this sets them apart from others or makes them better. Yeah. Yeah, they sell us out, man. And then they play up on us like they ain't down, like, and they don't do nothing like the Malcolm X, Steve Coakley's. Like, we in a time where you have to expose the stuff that's been keeping us in the same situation. And if you are part of an organization and you ain't doing none of that, if you're not exposing anything, you have nothing to say. You just gonna tell us to, man, pick your boots up by your straps, and you know, it's like, yeah, you know something, bro. You with somebody. That's how I'm looking at people nowadays. If you ain't saying you don't see nothing wrong, what's going on, you a part of the problem. But man, I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me. Definitely, I'm gonna be going live tomorrow. But I was gonna make a video out of this, but I was like, man, let me just go live, take some out. But man, I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, man. Hit that like button, push me on the algorithm. I greatly appreciate that. Y'all know me, man. Y'all know the motto: all money in. We need to spread this message to our people. All of our money needs to stay with us. That's the goal that we have to get things to. We can't let a dime of our money get out. We don't have it to be letting it out. Our people need it. You know, we don't have time to have none of our money leave out of who are. And if we don't have, you know, the stuff that's there, we have to put the business in there. I'm from the hood, but I don't associate with the hood mentality. They're pointless to the FBA lineage. They have no loyalty to nothing but money. Right. Like, all that money talk. It's like, get that hood mentality. But I think a lot of the hood mentality got to do with somebody's pushing that too. Because it's making sense to keep it like that. Definitely, Mickey. I'm glad you commented and came in, because that's what you're supposed to do. Y'all women are powerful. Y'all supposed to inspire. So shout out to all of the women that inspire me, and keep inspiring. Keep giving me some stuff to do, because I'm sure we need to hear this. But I'm glad y'all gave me the information tonight. But I hear you, Dave. That hood mentality is definitely wrong, but I think they pushing that. I definitely think they pushing that on us. But all right, man. I will catch y'all in the next video. Man, I love and appreciate y'all. Definitely check in with me. And on the next video, man, y'all comment. Y'all let me know what, some interesting things that we need to research and talk about and give out to the community. But I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace and love.